Right now, we're going to talk more about the benefits of cutting refined sugar from your diet. We're joined by Pastor Thabiso Salome of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who also happens to be a health and lifestyle counselor. So, you know, when Kabonina said all things in one: spirit, body, soul, alles. Pastor, welcome to Weekend Wake Up. Thank you so much for joining us. So, Pastor by day, a health fanatic by night, to tell us a little bit about why it's so important to balance everything.
Well, your success as a person is determined by what you eat, because certain foods that we eat contribute towards our brain power, towards our energy during the day. So it's important to always make sure that you eat properly, because then it would allow you either to be a successful parent, a successful teacher, or whatsoever. So it's important to generally, for your success in life, just to eat right.
It also affects our mood, doesn't it?
Mood swings and other things, especially since, well, we're talking much about sugar from the show that we ran with Kabonina. That affects you, you know, your intake even of other things that have sugar, including coffee and anything caffeinated. So, well, your energy drinks sometimes that we consume would affect our cycles of, you know, your moods. So it's important to know what you put in, because it will impact how you relate to people also. So it's quite important what you eat.
Yeah, I smiled when you said caffeine and coffee, because I'm guilty as charged.
Well, most of us are. We need to, most of the time, watch what we take in.
Yeah, and the principle of moderation, does it work here? Because I don't know about cutting refined sugar altogether. That's difficult to maintain.
That's heavy. That's heavy given the amount. Well, we grew up knowing that that's how generally you should have sugar that gives you energy. So it's a total lifestyle change, whereby you need to get to know your foods, get to know what where you can get sugar besides from, you know, your refined sugar, because your fruits can give you that and other means. So you need to get back to your roots and get to know how your food works.
Yeah. And what about those who say, you know, if I'm feeling down, chocolate really does pick me up? Is there any truth to that? To say if you have, you know, I don't know if it's in the cocoa or what it is, but there's something about chocolate that is an instant mood lifter.
It does pick up your mood, but the side effects then it just steals from your energy storage source because of the caffeine that is in there. So what it gives you is a hype, yes, in the brain, but it's not really contributing well long term to other, you know, bodily health matters, because it steals off your calcium, it steals off certain nutrients in your body. And even your sleep, you will end up again getting into the cycle whereby you will not sleep well if you have, you know, sort of consumed your caffeinated products like that. It goes a long way. So it actually is also addictive. The only way to remain in that hype in terms of your mood being uplifted is by consuming. So it's actually also contributing to other addictions. So you're starting a cycle that goes a long way. You start with your sugar, then you get to your caffeine, then eventually it's not good enough, then you have to consume more and more and more to keep up the same hype. Sooner or later you're getting into other destructive drugs and alcohol and other things. So you don't want to actually depend on it, because it will say stick with me to remain at that hype. So that's a challenge.
I don't have stats in front of me here, but you know, at braais and social gatherings, you have these discussions where people are saying we're seeing increased lifestyle diseases because of the kinds of food that we eat, where they would say, oh, such and such a sickness, you know, only white people used to suffer from that, but more people of color are now suffering from those diseases, and they're blaming it on the food that we eat. Is it just mere talk at braais, or is there some merit to that?
Well, there's an element of truth to it, because look, in the past, our grandparents used to be in the field toiling and eating not things that were processed. You know, we were eating, you know, your corn and things like that we produced for ourselves. And even if there was a certain well, I mean, I'm not sure if we had coffee back in the day, but nevertheless, if you were to look at proteins that we consume, your animal proteins, they were balanced by virtue of our activities. And by virtue of that lifestyle of being active and consuming a balanced diet of grains, fruits, and nuts, because we lived in nature, it allowed us not to be as sick. Now we merely consuming our proteins, our coffees and whatever else that we find, or caffeinated drinks. We are not balancing it out with fruits, nuts, legumes, which would assist you to regulate your cholesterol and other things. So if we would get back to that lifestyle where we would have what we call the 5 diets, then we would manage to sort of keep a balance. So that even if you were consuming your meat, but if you have your vegetables, it's important, your fruits is important, your nuts, so we need to have natural food to be there in our diet.
So tell me about the programs that you run that spread this gospel, as it were, of healthy eating.
Well, we run what we call health expos, cooking expos, anything that would educate the person how to even balance out. Because the other thing about even what we are talking about, you need to know how to cook your food. You don't just every day eat the same food.
Because you can say I'm eating vegetables, but how you prepare those vegetables?
Yes, because you need to have your
drenched in oil.
Yes, you need to have a fair amount of proteins in your diet. So you need to know what foods do you put together, and you don't necessarily then just always eat pap or whatsoever else, beans, and say, oh, I'm eating healthy and it's natural. You need to know how to balance your food because that is important. So that's what we teach. We go out, health campaigns, we go out to do cooking expos and teaching people even how to plant your food, because your nutrients sometimes is lost at how you even plant. So teach your people how to actually plant your vegetables or whatever else, so that it comes out very much rich in your nutrients, so that at the end of the day, you know how things work from the ground up, even to the kitchen. Yes.
So it is a Sunday. A lot of people are either going to be going to church or going to be gathering around loved ones, friends of whatever the origin would be, family or workplace or whatever the case may be. What is your message to them today? Some of them will be cooking the 7 colors, like beetroot and meat and butternut and all those things. Your quick 30-second word of advice to them.
Let's keep it simple. You mentioned 7 colors.
Yes.
Let's learn how to balance those foods as we cook them, and make sure that our vegetables and grains are there, and our legumes, our beans. Keep it simple, not too many things on a plate whereby you would want to have 7 things like you're saying. It's not that healthy, because you are over, you basically having too much on your plate. So keep it simple, make sure your vegetables are there, make sure your legumes are there, and your grains as you're eating your lunch. In the morning, make sure your fruits are there, because you don't want to mix your fruits with your vegetables. So make sure your fruits are there, and your whole wheat and food that is having roughage. Make
and
sure
it will
that
kickstart your metabolism, I'm assuming.
Yes, and have your breakfast like a king, as they say, and then you simmer down lunchtime. And if you're not a construction worker, make sure that then or a person that works physically, make sure that you don't eat too much during your supper time, 3 hours before you go to bed, because that impacts also on your mind as you're going to sleep. If you eat late at night, it affects whether you will rest or not, and then you would wake up tired. So if you're not a person who's working hard, then you don't really need a 3rd meal. You just need 2 good meals during the day. So let's keep it simple and eat the right food, so that you don't have to eat all the time and eat in between meals. So those are the things that I think we must take a note of as we go.
Thank you very much. You look like you practice what you preach, né? That's why you have a baby face, nice and petite. Is it because of that, or is
I'm
it
not sure if you know my age, but
what is your age? Just for interest.
Well, I'm beyond the calendar month.
You're over 30.
Yes. So forever young is the title, I say.
Okay. Is it because of the way you eat, or is it genes? Because then we can't compete with the genes.
Both.
It's not fair.
Yeah,
it's a combination.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you're a perfect poster child for what you're saying there. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for joining us, Pastor Thabiso Salome of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, who also happens to be a health and lifestyle counselor.